Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Tammy's Table. I'm so glad you could join me today. Um, Tammy's Table, what it's all about is I want you to think about like the last great party you went to. Maybe it was a family gathering or just at somebody's house. Everybody always ends up in the kitchen around a table talking about what they have going on in their lives. They talk about the stressors that they're feeling, they're talking about their successes, they're getting wisdom from their elders and giving wisdom to the youngers. And that's the feeling that I want you to get at Tammy's Table. So listen, today you just got me, and I wanted to level set on resilience and what it is and my general philosophy on it. um so let's start there. What is resilience? So I've been talking about resilience on this show for months. I've had amazing guests that have come on and shared their stories of adversity, and I'm going to have more. But I thought today we would just talk about like what's resilience. And resilience is essentially the process of adopting well in the face of adversity or in the face of trauma or tragedy or threats or significant sources of stress, which we all have, whether it's family and relationship problems, health problems, workplace problems, financial stressors. It just means bouncing back better from difficult experiences. Um, I remember like one of my favorite sayings from Les Brown is that your setback is a setup for your comeback. And that's what I'm trying to teach people here on Tammy's Table. And that's why I have the guests that I have on. Because at the end of the day, in this world, in this environment, um, it's more important than ever. I think everything is more difficult, and the better we manage it, the better we become. And the key here is to bounce back stronger. So I think about resilience in a couple of different ways. One is that, like, number one, like I said, it makes you come back stronger. It makes you feel more confident in your ability to navigate adversity. A lot of us, when something happens, we're like, oh my God, how am I ever going to get through this? And then when you do, you realize that you have the competence to get through anything. And I think that's really important. Equally important is the ability to be flexible. Like in order to be resilient, you have to be flexible. You can't like be stuck in your old ways. You need to be adaptable and flexible. Um, so I look at resilience in four different buckets. So the first is resilient thinking. Having a mindset that says, like, this is not going to get me down. This is not going to cripple me. I will get up and I will get up better than when I fell. So that's the first piece. And if you look at the guests I've had on and the topics that we've talked about, like building resilient thinking is critically important. And also the most difficult because your brain is designed for survival and protection. And in that vein, if something comes up, some adversity comes up in your life, its only job is to protect you. So it's going to keep you in the same zone that you've been in rather than helping you expand your thinking to find solutions. Um, so I think that first piece, resilient thinking, is like super hard for most people. Um, I think the other bucket is effective relationships. So I've written a couple of books called Weeding Your Garden, and they're all about getting rid of relationships that don't serve you. And sometimes, by the way, like I'm talking to myself. I've had many relationships that didn't serve me, and I realized it too late. So we're going to have conversation about effective relationships. Like, who do you want in your life and who do you need to exit? And how do you do that gracefully without like massive conflict? So resilient relationships are extremely important. And then I'm a big fan of emotional intelligence. Um, Managing your emotions so you're not flying off the handle. You're not making, knee-jerk decisions because you're in the heat of the moment. So managing your emotions is another bucket. I talk a lot about emotional intelligence. I've taught about it. Um, you can always tell somebody who's emotionally intelligent because they're not carrying a whole lot of luggage behind them. They know how to say sorry. They know how to greet you properly. They know how to love you properly. And when things go sideways, you don't lose your mind. You work through it. So I think managing emotions, by the way, whether you're an adult or a kid or at work or whatever, managing your emotions is one of the buckets that's important to develop resiliency. And then the last piece, which we don't really talk about, um, building on your strengths, I think is incredibly important. What are you good at? Do more of that. I feel like we come from a society that says, like, you need to be good at everything, especially in business, by the way. You need to be good at this, you need to be good at that. No, you need to be good at what you're good at and build on it and be better because of it. And then find other people to put on your team to fill in the gaps. That's a conversation we don't have, but building on your strengths makes you feel better about yourself. It makes you feel better about what you do. Um, so that's why I think that's super important. So those are the four things: resilient thinking, effective relationships, managing your emotions, and building on your strengths and not playing into your weaknesses. We find other people to help us fill in those gaps. So I hope that makes sense so far. I've been passionate about resilience because of my own journey. So in the course of just 5 months, here's what happened to me. And by the way, I was pretty resilient before, but this was like, really, God? Are you kidding me right now? I became unexpectedly pregnant with twins. Excuse me. My ex-husband gave me an ultimatum that I could have him or I could have the twins, but I couldn't have both. So I chose the twins. They weren't even born, but I liked them better than him at that point. Um, both of my grandmothers died within like 3 months. They were closer to me than anybody. They were my guiding light, and they both died. The twins were born extremely premature. We started a nasty divorce proceeding. Um, and I had to put my dog to sleep. That was that was the kicker. Like, she was losing her hips and losing her bowels, and I was outside at 3 o'clock in the morning after leaving the hospital, washing out her cage, and my neighbor came over and said, like, Tammy, that's a wrap. Like, it's time to put, your dog down. All of that happened in 5 months, and the twins were born extremely premature and were in the NICU. My daughter for 4 months, my son for 18 months. And I made like particular decisions every day about how I was going to handle this. Um, I decided that I was going to walk into the NICU every day with a smile on my face because I was grateful. I was just grateful. The divorce proceeding was a nightmare, but I had an amazing attorney. But I decided I was going to walk into those proceedings and release the outcome. Like, whatever happens today is what's going to happen. I have no control over it. And I think that's part of what people don't realize. Like, you can only control what you can control. And that's, I think, a key tenet of being resilient is, can I control this? Is there anything I can do about it? Or do I just need to release it? Those are some of the questions that we need to ask ourselves when we face adversity. And not about fault, not about like who did this to me or like blah blah blah. It's literally, what can I do now in this particular moment? And if the answer is nothing but release it, like that's what you got to do. And I believe that resiliency is a skill that can be taught and that can be built and strengthened like a muscle. When you go to the gym, you go to the gym to work out so you can make sure your muscles are strong. I believe the same thing about resilience. Whether it's something like super stupid, like me running out of gas a few weeks ago and then having to like walk to the gas station. I, it was my fault, but the truth is there was nothing I could do about it in the moment except go walk my butt to the gas station and buy one of their little red things and go back and fill up my car. Um, I think that's a key tenet that people just don't do. Like, not what is my role in this, but what can I do now? And if the answer is nothing but lean into it, I believe that's what we need to do is just lean into it. So with that, we're going to take a little break. And when I come back, I want to talk about how resilience breeds resilience. We're going to take a look at your own situation.
Hi there, Sheila Applegate here with some exciting news. I've joined the incredible Soulivity team as the host of the new Consciously Awesome live show, where I will be sharing insights to help you discover your full brilliance and claim the vibrant life you deserve. So tune in every Wednesday right here on Soulivity TV to join the fun, and remember to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss a single episode. Have an awesome week, and I will see you on Wednesday.
Awesome. I love her. Yeah, so quick reminder that you can find me on social media. You could just look up Tammy Gaines. I have a YouTube channel which has all these videos on it. Here on Soulivity, obviously. My website has lots of goodies. But stay connected. I also think, like I haven't talked about it, but staying connected to the people that support you and people that you follow and that you like, stay connected to them. So yeah, go to social media and connect on Soulivity. Absolutely amazing, totally positive. Connect with me on social media. TammyGaines.com, Tammy Gaines. I'm on everything except for TikTok, which is about to get outlawed, I think. So I'm not on TikTok. But let's talk about this piece. I wonder, I often look back on those 5 months, well, and what ended up being a couple of years. And people said to me, like, how do you do it? How are you not laying in the street? And how do I do it? And I do believe a piece of this, like I said, it can be taught, so I'm not walking away from that. But I think resilience breeds resilience. What do I mean by that? I come from an extremely resilient family. I think many of us do, but we don't recognize it. But I think about, for example, my grandmothers. I told you, like, they both died within like 3 months of each other, which was horrible. Like, it was absolutely horrific. But I was pregnant. I had twins. So I couldn't even like marinate on that loss. But when I think back about it, I think about my dad's mom, my paternal grandmother. She helped fund the civil rights movement. Like, she was friends with Jesse Jackson. All they knew was resilience. All they were doing, they were fighting for a cause that may have never gone their way. And we've all seen it. We're coming off of Black History Month. We've all seen the trials and the tribulations and the beatings and the name calling and the like everything. And she just held her head high and kept moving. She was also the commissioner of public utilities in Connecticut and helped deregulate cable. Like, the reason why we have cable today and it's a free market, free and fair market, is because of my grandmother and the people that she worked with. She was resilient. Um, my other grandmother, my maternal grandmother, was the first black supervisor at New Jersey Bell, which is now who knows what it is. I don't know, Verizon or whatever. It's something. But she had to manage like white men that dogged her out all the time, and people that didn't respect her, and people that called her names. But she went to work every day, um, again with her head held high to deal with that. And my grandfather stayed home and raised the kids. How's that for resilience? That's changing your perspective. That's emotional intelligence. Um, I think about my own upbringing and how that developed resilience. My dad was a partner in a law firm. He worked in New York City. He had a 2-hour commute, so we basically never saw him. And then when at some point he decided to move us to northern New Jersey so his commute would be shorter and we'd be in a better school system and surrounded by supposedly better people. But they threw a cherry bomb through our window the second night we were there. And I remember my mom was like, I want to go back. I want to get out of here. My dad's like, we're not going anywhere. We're not going to let anybody drive us out of here. We were the only black family in a town full of white people. And he refused to budge. He refused to leave. What he did the opposite. He just got more involved and more engaged. Um, that demonstrates resilience. And it's something that we should look at in our own lives. Like, were you raised to be resilient, or do you really need to focus on this and build it? Um, I think of my mom, who's been taking care of my dad for the last couple of years. He's been sick, and she does it with a smile on her face. I know she has her moments where it's like tough and she breaks down, but generally she's like, this is, I got to do what I got to do, and this is what I'm doing right now. Um, and then my own kids, I look at my own kids, and I know that I know for a fact that resilience breeds resilience. My daughter Haley, who was my oldest, she was diagnosed with thyroid cancer a few years ago. And during her treatment, she was studying for the LSATs. And now she's a first year law student at Northeastern. Um, my twins are thriving. Um, I just think it's super important to not be crippled when you're faced with a challenge. And some of that is learned, right? By what you see, like by your role models. Um, I got to tell you one more. My uncle Randy, my mom's brother, needed a kidney transplant, and he got it from his stepdaughter. Like, that was not only magnanimous, but huge. And they're both great and doing fine. But that also is resilient if you think about it in some way. So, um, I don't know. When people get crippled in the face of a challenge, it blows my mind, but I also think it's really important nowadays to build that muscle, right? Like, we have a climate crisis, the world is at war. Uh we're in an election cycle. Um we need to be resilient against negativity. We need to be resilient against propaganda. Listen, number 45 is saying stupid stuff, just stupid. And if you have resilient mindset, then you will know to not listen to that. So I think, I mean, I've said before, I've said it on this show, I've said it to my friends in private, like, our world is upside down. If you don't build your resilient muscle right now, you're not going to survive this. It's bananas. And I was just talking to Brian, the producer. COVID is still alive and well. just nobody's talking about it. We need to be resilient mentally, physically, like every part of us needs to be resilient. Uh so that's my resilient soapbox. And I'll tell you when we come back from a quick break, um some of the tools that are available to you. So let's take a quick one.
Find all of the Satana products at our Go shop at go.solivity.com.
Excellent. Welcome back. I'm fired up. I hope you can tell about resilience. Um, so when you're faced with adversity, I think there's a couple of things that you need to ask yourself right away. So I talked about emotional intelligence before. The first question is, what was my role in this? So nothing is done to you. I believe everything is done for you. So if something happens, like, what was my role in this? What can I do differently? Um, what did I learn? These are resilience building questions because it's all about your own personal growth. I think the last question, which is the hardest question, is what do I do now? Like, now that this thing has happened, what? Like, what happens? And what happens is up to you, right? It's a question you should ask. What happens is, what can you control? What can you influence? And what do you have to walk away from? And that's in almost every adverse situation. I was watching the news, which I try to only do for like an hour in the morning. And they were talking about this family that it was horrible. It was a Uvalde family with the school shooting. Um, the mother was the teacher. She died. The father had a heart attack 2 days later, and they had a little kid that survived the shooting. And I watched the aunt came on TV, and all she said was, "Well, the question isn't what happened," which is what everybody was asking, like, what happened, what happened, what happened. The question is, what do we do now? And I do think that's the most important question in the face of tragedy, and clearly that's tragic. But that question of what do I do now is where we need to lean into. It's what we need to sit with. Um, and I hate to be a pessimist, but our country is in a banana state right now. Um, how does it affect me, and what do I do now? I think those are the key questions. So, let me tell you some tools. You can go to my website, TAMI'S.com. I'm gonna start teaching courses. I'm teaching a resilience university, which I'm super excited about. In those 4 buckets that we talked about. It's for anyone and for everyone, but we are going to be talking about how do you build resilient relationships? How do you build a resilient mindset? How do you manage your emotions? in the face of like madness and chaos. And how do you identify your strengths and build on those strengths so you can get better and better and better? So I'm really excited about Resilience University. I'll be announcing that soon, when we're going to start. And I have a team of amazing teachers that are already raised their hand to say I'm in, to share my experience. And at the end of the day, we fall, we rise, and we thrive. That's what it's about. So super excited about the university. I'm really excited about the teachers. It's everybody from Reiki masters to people that have just overcome crazy stuff, have lived to tell about it, and are willing to teach a course about it. So I'm excited about the courses. So be sure to stay connected on the website. I'm on Instagram. I'm not great on Instagram, but I'm working on getting better. Uh, and certainly, people say this, but I mean it. Reach out. If you're going through something, reach out to me. I have a kid with special needs. I have older children. I'm divorced. I'm dating after 50. Like, there's a lot that I'm involved in. So if there's anything I could do to help, smooth your journey to being resilient, please reach out to me. I'm happy to do it. And I want to thank everybody for joining me today on Tammy's Table. Super excited. I'm looking forward to what's ahead. I hope you are too. Thank you so much.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.